Last year alone, Avista customers saved over 53 million kilowatt hours of energy. How? By caulking their windows, programming their thermostats, replacing their incandescent light bulbs with LEDs. Simple things, really. But the energy they saved was enough to power more than 4,000 homes for an entire year. Way to save, everyone. Way to save. Find your way to save at avistautilities.com.
Welcome to Startup Spokane, where host Steve Traben explores the excitement and momentum growing throughout Spokane's expanding startup community. Startup Spokane is a joint effort between Greater Spokane Incorporated's Startup Spokane and Spokane Talks Online. Now, here's your host, Steve Traben.
Spokane Talks Online, your podcast home for everything startup and entrepreneurship related in the Spokane region. I'm your host, Steve Traben, and alongside me today is Megan Hulsey, the newest member of the GSI team. And as you know, we are Startup Spokane, a program of Greater Spokane Incorporated. We're here to provide you with our region story on entrepreneurship. We're here to educate you about the resources that exist in our region's ecosystem, and we want to share ways for you to plug in and connect to those resources so that if you are launching or growing a business, you have what you need to be successful. At Startup Spokane, we are building an ecosystem that's attractive not only to our native entrepreneurs, but also to people who are looking for that special place to launch their next business. So today, we are going to talk about creative entrepreneurship, and I am pleased to be joined by Ginger Ewing of Window Dressing, which is a program of terrain. Welcome, Ginger.
Thank you so much, Steve, and thanks for having me back.
Yeah, it's great to have you back. We had you on the program, I think, about a year ago, and you and Chatham were just kind of getting some things in motion, and so much has happened since then. We have so much to celebrate, and I thought, what a great opportunity to bring you back in. Let's start with just an overview of window dressing, and you might even want to talk about the relationship between window dressing and terrain for our listeners.
Sure, yeah. So we, window dressing is a vacant storefront program, and we have kind of a two-pronged strategy approach. The first is artscapes, and that is taking vacant spaces around the downtown core and filling them with art installations. And that really is to add vibrancy, address spotlight, is good for surrounding businesses. Our second strategy, which we implemented this summer, is called Creative Enterprise. And it's taking that same vacant storefront concept, but this time taking creative entrepreneurs, providing them with really intensive professional development, one-on-one coaching, a fully fleshed out business plan, and once they've kind of gone through that intensive business training, then placing them in vacant storefronts for up to 6 months free rent to test their ideas with little risk.
Yeah, great, and great progress this year. I think let's start by talking a little more about the art installations.
Sure.
And just kind of give our listeners kind of the lay of the land on how many there are, where they're located, and because I'm sure there are a lot of people that would like to know where they can go check them out.
Absolutely. So just the very nature of the project, our locations kind of ebb and flow. But this year in 2016, or last year in 2016, we took over 11 different locations, 10 in the downtown core and 1 on East Sprague, with a work of 23 different artists. And we are currently still in East Sprague, a couple of downtown locations. We're kind of changing our focus onto the Rid Path right now. Mm-hmm. It's my goal, and it's been my goal for about a year and a half now, to take over the entire First Street Avenue or First Avenue side of the Rid Path. And so working on making that happen right now.
Yeah, and is that, I know that there were some obstacles in terms of the ownership of the Rid Path building, but I think that's behind us now. I mean, you're full steam ahead on getting some things renovated.
Yes,
down
I
there, right?
think so. I got the permission from the 5 remaining owners, Ron Wells being one of them, back in September. And I took the lead on finding window replacements. And so I presented that now to the owners. I'm waiting to hear back from there. But yeah, I believe we're full steam ahead. We've gotten some sponsorships in terms of filling the Rid Path. We have 10 different artists who are just on the ready to go to fill those spaces. So I hope so. I hope we're full steam ahead, yes.
How about an example or two of some of the artists that you have?
Oh, gosh.
Just so that people have context for,
Yeah. One example is Tiffany Patterson, and she has this like three-dimensional character that she has created that you're going to see going throughout a few of the different windows throughout the Rid Path. One other is Kalia Boone, and she has an installation that she proposed that mixes digital art with photography, lighting, so several different mediums. There are installations that involve sound. There's projection pieces. So lots of different mediums to kind of bring life to and light up the Rid Path.
Yeah, and a lot of it comes to life at night, right?
Yeah, we hope that the installations are engaging throughout the day as well. But projection, for example, is one of those that really comes to life at night, for sure. Yeah.
And what are you finding the advantages are of filling those vacant storefronts with these displays?
Yeah, so that's a great question. First, it gives an artist a platform to show their work, but also there has been a significant decrease in vandalism in the spaces that we've gone. So an example of that I can count, the Rid Path has been hit, the Rid Path and the motor inside has been hit with vandalism 6 times since we started introducing art installations, but the places that we've activated, the sections of the Rid Path that we've activated remain untouched. So an example, Washington Trust owns the motor inside, and they've said it's almost completely eliminated vandalism on the spaces that we've gone in. Now the vandals have gone around to the back of the building, but where we're putting art installations are remaining untouched. So that's a pretty profound example of once you feel something with vibrancy and life and it's something engaging, that it's a deterrent for vandalism.
Not only a deterrent, but it also activates that area for people that are enjoying an evening in Spokane where they feel comfortable and safe walking in those locations.
Yeah, so I spend quite a bit of time walking those locations just as an observer to see how people are engaging with the installations. And I've heard really incredible stories with parents to their children, or people who specifically, again, with the Rid Path, evoking memories of good times that they had there, people spending 10 or 15 minutes with an installation. So absolutely. And in addition to that, we also have gotten so much incredible feedback from surrounding businesses. Again, it's so much better to be next to something that's vibrant and that's active versus something that's boarded up.
So let's shift gears now and talk about creative enterprises, because this was what it was an idea last time we were talking, and you've gone from idea to execution, and it's a incredible story, and I want to spend probably the rest of the entire program talking about creative enterprises, because I think it's just such an impactful part of what you're doing.
Yeah. So window dressing is modeled after several different programs across the nation, and a lot of the successful programs that we were looking at had this creative enterprise element. And so we placed a call in summer to creative entrepreneurs who went under a pretty extensive application process, and then put together a jury of business-minded people and business experts to kind of jury in participants. And
what is a creative entrepreneur, just so that people
that's a great question.
Let's get that defined.
So
sorry to interrupt. I just think people are wondering, okay, what does that really mean?
So our definition is that as long as you make it with your hands, so it's something that is locally produced versus mass production, qualifies as a creative entrepreneur. Also, we would consider community groups that we feel would have an impact on the downtown core or neighborhood that we are going in. So entrepreneurs, small local businesses that are creatively minded.
Okay, so let's get back to you received a large number of applications, right?
Yeah,
and it was a rigorous process.
Absolutely. And I was actually it was a pilot program this summer, and for the first round, I was not only impressed by the quality of applicants that we had, but the amount of applicants that we had. And so we ended up taking 14 creative entrepreneurs under our wing. And again, as I mentioned before, giving them really intensive professional development. We partnered with Avista's Center for Entrepreneurship and SEC in order to provide that training. We also worked with people like Startup Spokane in order to find resources like lawyers, accountants, and coaches for the creative entrepreneurs, and went through a 6-week course with them. It was kind of a truncated course this time around, and then we're able to have the creative entrepreneurs pitch their businesses to a panel of experts who gave them really incredible feedback. Steve, you were one of those panelists. And then the creative entrepreneurs were able to take that feedback, implement it into their final business plan, and then turn in their final business plan in November. So now that they've completed their final business plan at the first of the year and moving forward, we will be looking at placing those creative entrepreneurs in vacant storefronts.
Yeah. So, and that's, that's really what this is all about, is helping these people that have ideas go from idea stage to feasibility to a business plan to ready to launch, and then giving them a venue or a place where they can launch, right?
Absolutely. And it's kind of turning upside down and redefining who can and cannot open a business or start a business by taking away the risk and, again, giving that professional development side of things.
Yeah, and we should talk about, this is it's a triple win, I think. I look at it as it's a win for the entrepreneur, right? Because they get space in like in our downtown core.
Absolutely.
It's good for the property manager or owner because that space is vacant otherwise.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
And it's great for the community and for the economy.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. And essentially, when talking with property owners or property managers, we just say, let us borrow your space. Let us activate your space until you have a better offer. And if for some reason you find a better offer, we'll find another spot for that creative entrepreneur. So it's no risk to the property manager. It's little risk to the creative entrepreneur, and it's a lot of good for our overall economy.
And it's a good test of their business, right? It gives them the opportunity without a huge financial investment outside of their product, because we're giving them a little bit of runway, if you will, for free rent for a certain period of time, and it gives them the opportunity to really test out their ability to sell their products.
Yeah, absolutely. And in addition to the space, again, it's just this network of people, the resources and the tools in order to help those creative entrepreneurs be successful in their journey.
Great. Well, we have a lot more to talk about and cover with Ginger Ewing from Window Dressing after we take a short break on Startup Spokane on Spokane Talks Online. We'll be right back.
In touch, online all the time. SpokaneTalksOnline.com.
Home. That word means so much more than its 4 letters suggest. R. That letter stands alone. When you see someone wearing a blue block R, you're talking with a realtor. Your local neighborhood realtor can help you find your first home, your next home, or help you sell the one you have. Next time you think home, think Realtor. The brand makes the difference. This message brought to you by the members of the Spokane Association of Realtors.
What? You haven't been to the library lately? Stop in today and see that the library is more than books. Spokane County Library District facilities feature on-site technology, including Wi-Fi, computers, and printers, as well as free use of meeting rooms. The Library District offers events and programs for all ages, from story times to career development and employer classes to Social Security workshops. Our staff is well trained and happy to help. Find out more about your library at scld.org.
A special thank you to our friends at Tom Sawyer Country Coffee, the official coffee supplier here at Spokane Talks Online.
Here's Rob Curley, editor of the Spokesman Review.
Living life is complicated. They should give you an instruction manual, but they don't. So every day I feel like I have to try to put together an instruction manual for how you would live in Eastern Washington. Sometimes that's big national news, sometimes it's local news, but sometimes it's just telling you where to get a good hamburger and why the Zag Zone really works this year.
Online, in print, the Spokesman Review. Subscribe to the experience.
Welcome back to Startup Spokane on Spokane Talks Online, where we're having a great conversation with Ginger Ewing from Window Dressing. And Ginger, as we were going to break, we were just talking about the cohort of students that had just gone through the Creative Enterprise Education Program, and now they're all chomping at the bit. They're ready to launch their businesses in retail spaces. So let's talk about what's next for them.
Yeah, so through the process, we determined, we have exit interviews and again, that business plan. Some people determined that they are immediately ready for a space. Some would like to push that off until this summer, and some would like to take some incremental steps into starting their full-fledged retail space. So it's a little bit different for each individual business. But right now, one of the things that we determined was that there were several members of the cohort who wanted an interim step between where they're at right now and fully jumping into a full retail space on their own. And so the idea that we've been floating around is taking several of the cohort and kind of clustering them in one location so they can build off of one another and kind of get their toes wet a little bit in the retail setting and kind of learn and adjust from there before making the full plunge. And so we've been in conversation with the Steam Plant, which is owned by a Vista at a retail storefront that they have on 159 South Lincoln Street. And we are full steam ahead and creating what we're calling a pop-up shop in that location where 7 members of the Creative Enterprise cohort will be featured. And working on all the kind of internal systems of what that looks like, but hoping to launch fully with a grand opening celebration in March.
Oh, that is just incredible. And I imagine with 7 different businesses all in one location, I can imagine there's a lot of process to figure out, like, are they gonna work in shifts to sell their product, or are you gonna have a general manager of the store, those kinds of things?
Absolutely. Those are all of the things that we're working on, those systems, those processes. How do you take money? How do you cut checks? How do you tag items? All of those sorts of things.
Can you tell us a little bit about the creative entrepreneurs that you're going to have represented in that space?
Yeah. So let me talk to you about the cohort in general. Yep. So we have like Old Hat Workshop, who is a woodworker. We have Mimosa Flowers, which is a unique flower design. We have Burgeltines, who is, he does everything from these really amazing 3-dimensional shadow boxes to pillows to like amazing adult stuffed animals. We have Teddy Cripps of Hustle and Hide. She's an amazing women's leather goods worker. We have, who else do we have? We have tons of people. We have Matt Gibson, who is a ciderist. We have F-Stop, who they really would like to do a photographic kind of homage to photography, the history of photography, but also to have a photographic gallery space. We have Art Salvage, which is a creative reuse artist supply store, and also kind of in tandem does classes. It's their goal to do 3 to 4 community classes a week. So a little bit of everything when looking at the cohort.
Yeah, it was a very diverse group. And so as you've got 7 or 8 of them that are ready to go into the location at South 159 Lincoln at the Vista Steam Plant Square. Talk about what those businesses, who are they?
Yeah, so I'm being a little bit hesitant because we're still working We're still working that out. Mimosa Flowers is very interested in this space. Burgeltines is very interested in this space. Teddy of Hustle and Hide is very interested in this space. I should also mention that window dressing is a program of Terrain, and Terrain is. I'm a co-founder of Terrain, and Terrain focuses on our young and emerging artists here in Spokane. We were an event-based organization for many years and are transitioning into still doing those events, but a performance art space and a gallery space, and then doing programming and creating infrastructure, again, that supports our young and creative people here in Spokane. And so what we'll probably do, in addition to those 7 cohort, in order for the shop to feel as vibrant vibrant and as alive as possible is to take some additional artists. We have an event called Bazaar. Some people who also have experience as makers and who are having a lot of success online and shops like Etsy and stuff, and infilling those artists as well. So actually my goal is to have 15 to 20 artists represented in that pop-up shop along with a creative enterprise.
Yeah, and what a great activation of the space in the Seahorn building
Yes.
at Steam Plant Square. So it'll be a really nice, diverse mix. And you said the grand opening will be sometime in March.
Yes.
And so that's perfect.
I'm not committing to a specific date.
That's
Sometime
okay.
in March.
No, but it's great because it's, as our visiting and tourism, starts to increase for the season, I think it's just great timing.
Yeah,
great timing.
absolutely.
And,
we're really excited.
and what a great way to sort of bring to fruition, if you will, the first cohort from the creative enterprise.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. And really, again, the pop-up shop was a response to the cohort's needs and really paying, close attention to giving them the infrastructure and the resources and the tools that they need in order to make the next steps.
Yeah.
And so we thought the pop-up shop was a good response to that.
So this 2016 cohort was a pilot program.
Yes.
And we're now in 2017, Ginger
Yes.
Ewing. What is in store? I mean, are you planning to do it again?
Yes.
So talk about that
the
for our
big
listeners.
caveat is if we remain funded, which is looking likely,
Yeah.
then we will start this process all over again. So we will continue our Artscapes prong strategy, again, with my focus being on the Rid Path this year. And then we will do a call this spring for another round of creative enterprise cohort. And it'll be the exact same thing, a pretty competitive application process. And then once selected, intensive professional
So
development.
for our listeners that are saying, wow, that was really cool what they did last year. I'm a creative entrepreneur, or I have an idea in creative entrepreneurship and I'd like to be interested. What the timing of the education program,
Yes.
how people can learn more about
Yes.
it
Yeah.
in advance of your call for applications?
Yeah.
How do people learn
That's
more?
a great question. So just the timing of it, I do think that the summer course worked well. So we will probably have our call sometime in spring, and the call will be open for 6 to 8 weeks in order to apply. And then once that's closed, then getting going with the professional development a few weeks to a month after that. In order to find more information, I would recommend either liking us on Facebook, which is at Window Dressing Spokane, or liking Train on Facebook. That's where we do the vast majority of pushing our calls.
Right.
Also, the Window Dressing website will have the application process on it. And so once it's open, that will remain live. So again, just being up to date with what we're doing, we'll post it on social media.
Yeah, and certainly Startup Spokane will be pushing the same
Oh,
information
thank
out
you. I
on
appreciate
our
it.
newsletter, which goes out weekly, or on our Facebook and Twitter pages as well. So startupspokane.com. For any of our listeners that aren't receiving the weekly newsletter, sign up for it today. You will be glad you did.
Yeah, and Steve, if I could just do a plug for Startup Spokane really quickly. You guys have been such great partners in this process, and I just want to thank you from promotion to, again, sharing of resources to brainstorming ideas. Startup has been an incredible partner in Window Dressing's growth.
Good.
So
Thank you. And the purpose of Startup Spokane is to connect individuals and companies to the resources they need at the time when they need them. So that just says we're doing our job, so that's good. So let's, one other quick thing. So the program is actually an evening program, so people don't need to be
Yes.
concerned about taking time off work during the day, right?
Absolutely. So again, trying to meet people where they're at. Most of these creative entrepreneurs have a full-time job. And so, yes, the classes are in the evening. Last time they were from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. In the evening. And so I anticipate a pretty similar schedule.
And what about a cost? Why don't we talk about how it was funded last year? Because there was
Yes,
a
I'm
partial
glad that.
scholarship.
Yes, I'm glad that you brought that up. So last year, the SEC Foundation was generous enough to cover the vast majority of the cost for the professional development. So the total cost for each business was only $79 because of that generous donation. So, and I believe it's traditionally a $450 cost.
Right.
And so the SEC Foundation stepped up in a huge way to support those creative entrepreneurs. So when everything was said and done, $79 to get that professional development. If you were placed into a storefront storefront, then you are responsible for general liability insurance. Window dressing also takes on general liability insurance, but so does the creative entrepreneur. And they're also responsible for utilities, B&O taxes, all of anything that a traditional, like business licensing, that a traditional business would have to
And then
get.
hopefully after that 6 month or so runway of free rent, that they're so successful that they enter into a long-term lease with the owners of the building, and everybody's happy.
Yes, yeah. So one of the programs that we've closely aligned ourselves with, have modeled our program around, they have a 75% rate of transitioning into paying tenants. So.
Which is remarkable.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the last few minutes, we've got like 2 minutes or so left in the show. Ginger, let's you and I get on our soapbox and talk about.
I like a good soapbox.
Yeah, and you probably can predict what I'm going to talk about. I want you to talk about why is creative entrepreneurship so important, not just for this community, but for any community.
Yeah. So this is really a personal issue for me and for many others. I grew up in a city, Spokane, that I was told that if I was going to be successful or if I was going to have fun in my 20s, I needed to do it anywhere else but here. And that is a narrative that we've been telling our young and creative peoples for decades now. And so if we want to retain our young and creative people, then we absolutely have to provide opportunities for them and an infrastructure and a city that supports them. In addition to that, we also want to attract outside business. And a big conversation that's taking place right now within city leadership is attracting tech businesses, or any business for that matter, but tech businesses is really popular. Yep. And I will just say that a tech business is not going to come to Spokane unless there is something for their workers to do after work. Yep. And so that comes with a strong creative culture, music, good restaurants, good galleries, good public art, all of that creates the heart and the soul of a city. And that's what outside businesses are going to be looking for in order to relocate here.
I could not have said it any better, but I say it all the time. You cannot have one without the other, right?
Absolutely.
And a vibrant, cool, hip community that attracts people and helps to retain some of these 70,000 students that are going through our area colleges and universities that really never integrate in our downtown because we just need to make it even stronger. It already is strong.
Absolutely.
And I think we're well on our way.
And you just see case after case, city after city, Boise, Tacoma, Detroit, Mobile, Alabama, where they have really invested in their young and creative people and their creative culture, and they get like a per dollar, economic, they get $6 output for it. It's just it's proven, and it's time Spokane realizes.
Yeah. Well, Ginger, we are as a community so fortunate to have your passion, your husband Luke Baumgarten's passion with terrain, all that the two of you and others, and all the people that are working with you, that you all do to help support and encourage creative entrepreneurship and arts and culture in our region. It's making a huge difference. Don't stop, never give up. The money will come. Everything you're doing is fabulous, and I'm just thrilled to have had the opportunity to share a little bit of time with you today.
Well, thank you so much.
So join us for future broad and podcasts where we'll continue to bring you profiles of successful entrepreneurs, as well as provide information on helpful resources and much, much more. We'll talk to you next time on Startup Spokane Radio on Spokane Talks Online. Bye for now.
Startup Spokane is produced in Spokane, Washington by SpokaneTalksOnline.com and is a joint effort between GSI's Startup Spokane and Spokane Talks Online. Ask a question, recommend a guest, and hear this program again online anytime at SpokaneTalksOnline.com. We wish you a great and profitable day.